All right, I think everything's turned on. It's 8:30. Oh, it's like 8:33. I apologize for the 3-minute delay in getting started here tonight, but I had to go find my headphones so I can hear Jim when he's talking, and I had to, um, read the Diego Pavia court settlement and find out what this is all about. I'm very curious. Trying to figure this out. We had a question about it, and it seems like something we should be aware of, and it'd be interesting to talk about. In case you haven't seen this, Diego Pavia, the Vanderbilt quarterback who beats Hugh Freeze all the time, was granted an extra year of eligibility, I think, on the pretense or context, whatever the right word is that I'm looking for. I'm trying to plug my headphones in here. Sorry that I'm moving awkwardly. On the idea that junior college eligibility and junior college years should not count against eligibility in regular college. And I think that's really interesting. I think there's a bit of a conversation to have about that, and we can get into that. Like I said, there's a question. We'll talk about that in a little bit when we bring Jim in here and get into our show. But it is the live Panther-Lair Show on a Wednesday night. Our final, this might be our final live Panther-Lair Show of 2024. We'll have a post-game show after the bowl game next week, of course, but we won't have a live show on Wednesday night next week because it's Christmas, and we won't have a live show. We're not going to move that to Tuesday night and do it on Christmas Eve, and we're not going to and then we'll do a post-game show the day after Christmas, and then the next week we're not going to do a live show on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, so maybe we'll move it to I don't know, maybe we do a Thursday that week. I forget. I think Pitt basketball plays on New Year's Day. I have to check the schedule. I think they do, which that's going to be pretty lame, but I forget. When is it? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Who do they play? They play Cal on New Year's Day at 2:00. That's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to be at the Peterson Event Center at 2:00 on New Year's Day, but we'll be there. I mean, I think we'll be there. We'll see if I'm there. But anyway, we're not going to have a live show that night. We're not going to have a live show New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. We'll probably do on the day after New Year's. Maybe we'll do it on Thursday night, January 2nd. So this is it. This is like the final live Panther-Lair show, not counting the post-game show. This is the final live Panther-Lair show of 2024. Maybe we can reflect back on the year. I wasn't even thinking about this, but I guess this could be our year in review episode. I'll put Jim on the spot here in a minute to get his biggest moments of 2024. And while he's thinking about it and talking about it, I can think about what mine are, because I haven't actually come up with my list yet either. Pitt did a social media thing where I don't know what it wasn't a parody. They sort of just took the Spotify Wrapped idea and did their top moments of the year. Surprisingly, they didn't mention the 7-0 start to football. I don't know why you wouldn't mention that, but maybe I do know why you wouldn't mention that. But we can talk about that year in review. You can in the comments and questions over there on the right side, you can put your thoughts on the biggest Pitt sports stories of 2024. Actually, I mean, there's no question. There's one Pitt sports story that is number one, and everything else is sort of secondary to that. But we'll hear it. What are your biggest sports stories from 2024? Like I say, I wasn't really planning to do this tonight, but we kind of have to. It's our last night. And, just to address this, Josh Newark asked, did the studio move to a bedroom closet? It didn't move to a bedroom closet. This is a bump out. It's not a closet door or something like that. It is a little bit different. We did move around here at the Panther-Lair Studios. Got kind of a new setup. Still working out exactly how we want the lighting and everything to be. So I feel like it's more of like a fireside chat. I feel like we have a fireside chat kind of vibe right now with the warm lighting in these videos lately. I know other people have mentioned it on some of the Morning Pit episodes this week, since we started doing it with the new setup. But don't you feel like it's like warmer? Don't you feel like I should have like a hot tea or a cocoa, or maybe a pipe, smoking jacket? You know what I mean? A little Hugh Hefner. Well, maybe not Hugh Hefner. Maybe FDR. Who did the fireside chats? FDR. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But that's what's going on. We just kind of moved to a different location here in the Panther-Lair Studios, and it's all right. It's fine. Have to adjust. I have to put my microphone at an angle like this. Hopefully you can still hear me just fine. I know you can see just fine my sweet Hawaii Rainbow Warriors sweatshirt, which you know where that came from. It's from homefieldapparel.com. Look, it's a week from Christmas. All right. I don't know if you're still in their shipping windows or not, but you should try and you should get it at a discount. 15% off when you use the promo code PIT24 at homefieldapparel.com. Get the best Pitt gear that you can possibly find, or you can get the best Hawaii Rainbow Warriors gear. I've actually got a pair of home field sweatpants on right now. I'm not going to stand up and show those to you, but they are super comfortable. I think the kids call these joggers, but I call them sweatpants. And then I also call them very soft, very comfortable, great logos and great designs on it. They're awesome. And you got to get it. You got to go to homefieldapparel.com and check it out. You got to get the discount, 15% off your first order with the promo code PIT24. Go to homefieldapparel.com right now and buy some sweet Pitt gear and some sweet gear from any school, because they really have just about everybody in the country. All right, let's bring Jim in now. Where's the button? There's the button. I already got him set up on the right thing. There you go, Jim. Adjust your camera so we can see all of you. That's good. Oh, look, now once we bring this in and we do sort of the split screen, now the background, I feel like it looks pretty much like what it looked like before, right? Do you notice anything different? I mean, different shades, different shadows, I guess.
When you first started, it looked very different. It kind of threw me off, but I'm getting adjusted. I mean, we're adjusting on the fly. I mean, I think we're going to talk about things on the podcast we weren't expecting to, like the year-end wrap of Panther-Lair, the live stream.
I mean, I didn't occur to me, but like this is our last Wednesday night show with. I mean, these years when Christmas and New Year's are on a Wednesday, that kind of bumps us out. And it's not like we can push the show up one day. Like I said, we're not going to do it on Christmas Eve. We're not going to do it on New Year's Eve or anything like that. But do you feel like the lighting is a warmer tone, like maybe a little less harsh than the old setup? Or is that just me?
Yeah, I think it's a little more inviting.
Yeah, nice. It is. On this side. It is on this side. I've got some shadows, but our walls look similar colors too. I think. I don't think there's anything different. Did you? But
no, yeah.
I don't know. It's like a green gray. Anyway, you generally shift around with your background, Jim. I mean, you move sometimes. You're in different spots. Like we've got the concert posters behind you now, but we don't always have them. So
sometimes I want to watch TV, and like if there's an important game on, like I'll go sit at the table and like face the TV.
Right. I've got the TVs over there, so I just do the really engaging thing where I just don't even look at the camera at all and watch it. But I don't think what's on tonight. Is there a bowl game on tonight?
There is. I think Cal is playing UNLV, and I don't know who plays for Cal or who coaches for UNLV. So it should be really good.
Oh wait, yeah, that game's at 9:00, but there's another one on right now. It's the Boca Raton Bowl with James Madison and Western Kentucky. James Madison is winning that one currently in the fourth quarter, 24-17. So it looks like James Madison is going to win that, picking right up where Kurt Signetti left off when he bailed on the Dukes. But anywho, so that's going on. It's fun. We're in this stretch now where I think like for the next 30 days or something, there's an NFL or college football game every day, every night. Am I right about that?
I think you're right.
How long it goes?
Because that happens like in like mid-October to like Thanksgiving. There's another one like where there's a game, like at least a Maction or Sunbelt something. So I think we have that same situation right now.
Yeah, with the bowl games and then the playoff games on Saturday, and of course it's a big stretch for Pitt. I mean, there's a lot that's going to be going on here over the course of the next 8 days. Conceivably, you could have 4 games in 8 days, and 3 games in 4 days, which would be three games that are all I think probably a little bit more interesting than that one that's at the end of the schedule of this 8-day stretch. But it starts tomorrow night with Pitt volleyball at Louisville, and I'm saying at Louisville. I'm not even pretending like this is like some neutral court Final Four matchup. They are at Louisville because they are literally playing at Louisville. Do you buy into the cliche or the old sports adage that it's tough to beat a team 3 times in a year? Is there anything to that, Jim?
I think so. I mean, you just kind of look at these Pitt Louisville matches over the past couple years. I mean, they always go 5 sets. It's always there's no surprises on either side. Like Anna DeBeer's been at Louisville like probably longer than any Louisville basketball or football coach. I mean, she's been there. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is tough to beat a team 3 times in 1 year, and in a sport like volleyball, it's like you're playing these mini 25 set games. So it's like, yeah, you got to beat this team a bunch of times. So, I don't know. I mean, whenever you looked at this matchup or looked at the bracket 2 weeks ago, everyone I kind of knew it's like, all right, Louisville in the semifinals, possibly Penn State in the national championship. We're still there. I mean, it's the Final Four week, and all those things are still possible. So to beat the best, you got to beat the best, and I think that's kind of where Pitt is right now.
I don't think you like. I think there's a great storyline no matter who they. I mean, obviously there's a great storyline with Louisville, but then whether they end up facing Penn State or Nebraska, there are big storylines there too, because Pitt's got some history against Nebraska. Not the history they have with Louisville, but there is history there because Nebraska knocked them out last year, right? In the national semifinals, right? Because Pitt beat Louisville in the Elite Eight or whatever it was, and then the year before Louisville knocked Pitt out of it. But I mean, so there's like these are all teams that know each other. I love the fact that they're. I don't love the fact that they're facing Louisville because I think it's a tough team. It's a tough out, and it's the 3rd time. But this is like the 9th time in the last 3 seasons these two teams have played, right? Because they've faced each other in the tournament in addition to twice every year. I mean, it's fun. You know what I mean? It's fun seeing a rivalry like this. It's fun with the familiarity. Like they all know what Pitt can do. Pitt knows what they can do. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow night. There was a question here. I'm going to throw it out and see what you think from Grant Sakuda. You're more confident in Pitt football beating Toledo or the Pitt women's volleyball team winning the national championship? What do you think, Jim?
I don't know.
I'll throw while you think about it. I'll throw a few like not caveats, but a few like details that I think are relevant. One, Pitt volleyball will not be relying on a walk-on at its most important position, potentially, right? Pitt football only has to win 1 game, not 2. Effectively 6 mini games, could play as many as 10 mini games. Pitt football doesn't have to do that. So, I mean, those are two, one thing I think in favor of Pitt volleyball, one thing in favor of Pitt football. Do either of those shift your answer to this question?
I don't know if I'm any more or less confident about either outcome. I mean, I think everything's plausible. I mean, like when you're in the Final Four, all 4 of these teams are capable of winning. Like Pitt could get swept by Louisville. I don't think that's going to happen, but like it could. Like Louisville's really good. I mean, they could get on a run. They're playing at home. It is one of those things. Football, like, yeah, we know like Pitt is playing with kind of a skeleton roster, kind of probably going to be missing. I think we could just say it. Like, there's a really good chance Eli Holstein's not going to play next week. I think everyone needs to like kind of start bracing for that right now. So I don't know. I mean, I did you watch like the West Virginia bowl game? Like, or like, does it appear like people are like really into these games, or like is everyone just kind of going through the motions?
I did not. I didn't watch the game, so I can't answer that. I mean, it's got to be tough, but at the same time, I mean, I think there are competitive juices. Like, I don't think I would expect Pitt to look like they were going through the motions any more than they were in the Boston College game. And I mean, there's a debate whether they looked like they were going through the motions in the Boston College game. But I mean, if you have a team full of guys who are coming back, which is what it seems like it's going to be, you've got a team full of guys looking to, I mean, shoot, I do think there's probably some amount of will in these players of just like, yeah, we don't want to lose 6 games in a row. Like, that sucks. Losing sucks. And we haven't won a game since mid-October. So here's a chance to go out against the MAC team and get another win. I got to think that there's some element in these players that are thinking that. I would hope or like to think. But then again, if they go out there with a walk-on quarterback, that might do some damage to the motivation. So I don't have a good answer to this question either. I mean, I think Pitt volleyball, I do think they'll win. I think they'll beat Louisville, and I think, they should win the national championship. But I also think Pitt football should be able to beat Toledo. But if you're missing some guys, some key guys, and this won't be like the Sun Bowl 2 years ago where they were missing like a ton. Like I put down the list of the guys they were missing from that Sun Bowl. I mean, it was like leading passer, leading rusher, leading tackler, leader in sacks, starting safety. I mean, All-American defensive tackle, like your top 3 defensive end. Like they were really depleted in that game. And somehow I feel I think I felt better about that team than I feel about this team right now. I don't know if it's because that team at least won 4 games in a row going into the bowl before they had a bunch of defections. This team has lost 5 games in a row going into the bowl, and they'll be missing maybe not as many players, but some pretty important players. So I don't know. I'm going to try to, in the 3-2-1 column, I'm going to try to give people lots of reasons why they should want to watch the bowl and be excited for the bowl. But it's, I gotta get creative.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's tough. So do we have an answer here? Did you answer this question?
I'm equally as confident about both outcomes.
Oh, okay. Good. Look at you, Jim. I like that. I like that optimism. Let's see. Pitt Tough Guy says conventional wisdom is wrong. Portal experience over the past 2 seasons shows that at the Power 4 level and at Pitt, far more players are being pushed out by their coaches than leaving for better NIL and pay. Do you agree or disagree? I don't entirely agree. I don't think coaches push players out as much as people think they do. I think it does happen in some instances. I think what's far more common is some honest conversations where the message is pretty clear that you're unlikely to crack the 2 deep and you might not play here. But I think if that player still comes out of that conversation and says, I want to come back, I think at most schools, they're going to be welcomed back. I don't think it's quite as cutthroat and business-like as people assume it to be. I think most of the portal defections are guys leaving to either find a better position, a better opportunity, or to find a better NIL payday. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the guys Pitt has lost. I don't think any one of the 12 guys that have hit the portal had left Pitt with money on the table at Pitt to go somewhere else. Like they were looking for better opportunities. All 12 of them, I think, would be the fair assessment. So, I mean, it's both. I mean, like I think even before the portal era, like you have an end of the season meeting with your head coach and your position coach, and they kind of lay it out for you. You're like, all right, this is the depth chart. This is where you stand. This is who we want to bring in. If you're cool with that, like if we're bringing in 3 defensive ends and you're already 3rd on the depth chart, okay, like you can stick around, but we're just being honest. And so I think you have to be, because you don't want to be dealing with disgruntled players during training camp or spring camp or during the season. It's like, oh, this isn't anything we didn't tell you back on December 10th or whatever. Like I think those meetings happen, and I think they're very transparent. And I think some guys walk out of it and say, okay, like I know I'm probably not going to start here. So it's probably, if I want to start, I got to look somewhere else.
And I have to think with most of these kids, like they got to know, you know what I mean? Unless you're just really naive, where you stand.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with like I don't think anybody really cares about like the depth chart that comes out. Like sometimes if they make a move on the depth chart and we talk to the kid who moved up a spot on the official like depth chart that gets released on Mondays, and we're like, you moved into the starting lineup. How do you feel? Like they know already. Like they have plenty of evidence outside of that piece of paper that gets put into the notes every Monday. They know where they're working in practice. They know where they are in the rotation, and they know what their role is going to be on Saturday. So like guys who aren't playing, they leave. I don't know if they necessarily or very often need the coaches to tell them like, hey, you're probably not going to like they'll have those conversations and the coaches will say it. But I got to think, a guy like Terrence Moore, right, is going to walk into his end of season meeting with either Jeremy Darvo or Pat Narduzzi, and he knows that Lyndon Cooper came in, won the job, and he played behind Lyndon Cooper all season, only got on the field when Cooper got hurt, and when Cooper was healthy, he was back out. Same thing with Nate Yarnell. Same thing with, Montravius Lloyd. You know what I mean? Same thing with Noah Bigelow, right? Noah Bigelow looks at the situation, says, there's 4 corners playing ahead of me. Like, I'm not going to play. Like Stephon Hall looked at it last year. So I think these guys like they're not completely blind. You know what I mean? They recognize what's going on. So I don't think players get pushed out as much as we sort of we sometimes think they do. Benjamin Glazer asked, did the courts today and their ruling on the Vandy quarterback just nuke college sports eligibility requirements from orbit? Seems like we'll have 10-year players soon. So this Diego Pavia thing, Vanderbilt quarterback, went to court to try to get an extra year of eligibility. I think he was a junior college player, because it seems like a lot of this revolves around junior college players and eligibility, and whether their years at junior college should count against their college eligibility. And there's like one like section from the court ruling that basically says, you know, the NCAA claims it wants to maintain, quote, natural and standard degree progression, but by allowing as many frequent transfers as they do, it doesn't really seem like they're all that interested in promoting natural and standard degree progression. And then it sort of goes on to say, like, if the NCAA actually cares about degree progressing toward your degree, then it shouldn't count junior college, because junior college education is not going to be on the same level as the Division I college education and academics. So it shouldn't count. And I think that's really interesting. I don't know that it necessarily nukes college sports eligibility. If the NCAA, like the NCAA could react in like one of two ways. They could be like, okay, fine, we won't count JUCO eligibility, or they could like lean into it and be like, yeah, you're right, and we can move further and further along, like a divorce between sports and academics. At which point, Jim, and I mean, I'm like jumping 10 steps ahead here, as people talk endlessly about the death of college sports and this and that, like the thing that ultimately would be the death of college sports is if somehow the sports were finally divorced from the universities. Like, I don't think it exists at that point. Like, if Alabama football became its own separate entity from the university, I think that might be the straw. You know, like if it somehow could be divorced from the college and from the academics, that might finally be the piece that pushes it over the edge. I think they could survive employment. I think they can survive the transfers and the free agency and all these things. But if somehow it gets to a point where it's no longer affiliated with the academic institution, or it's only affiliated in name only, that might be what finally kills this sport and makes it just like Arena League or something. But I don't really know what that would look like. So I'm sort of hypothesizing without any real like concept here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it would take or how it would look like if that ever were to happen. But just looking at his case, like specifically, like I don't know, like if he used like, hey, I played 2020 at a junior college, I didn't get that free year that everyone else got. Like I don't know if that's part of his argument, because he played 20, 21 at the JUCO, 22, 23 at New Mexico, then 24 this year. So this is his 5th season. So I don't know if he's going back and saying like, look, like everyone else that played college football got that free year in 2020, and like, why don't junior college guys get it? So I don't know. Maybe that's part of his argument. But yeah, I mean, anytime a ruling like this happens and a high profile player gets this extra year, it's going to raise eyebrows. But I didn't really see his exact case for it. Did you you said you were trying to read it a little bit?
I just read this one thing that somebody, Stuart Mandel, maybe tweeted out, like that like specific thing that I that I just sort of quoted from was the thing that he had tweeted out. It seems like there is a thought that this could open the door for a lot more eligibility challenges. And there's another angle that I think is really interesting, and it's this idea of, after years and years of guys leaving college early, we could start seeing like a move toward more guys staying in school. Particularly, you know, the NCAA, if they have to change their eligibility requirements or open more doors eligibility wise. But the fact that you can get paid a healthy sum, a handsome reward in college, I think you could actually end up with more guys staying in school. And, you know, they got into a conversation about this on the message board. Somebody said that, you know, eventually the NFL was going to not like the direction of college sports or something. And it's actually, if the colleges end up paying guys to stay in school longer, I think the NFL would like that because guys will be a year older. They'd be more developed. They'd be more experienced and come into the NFL presumably more ready to play than a 3-year guy or that 1 year when Maurice Clarett went in after 1 year or something like that. Like we could end up in this interesting world where guys who might have typically left after 3 years stay an extra year because they can get, what were they talking about with one of the Texas quarterbacks, like $4 million or something like that? Like, yeah, dude, give me $4 million to stay in college for another year. Like, give me $4 million to go to college, play the college game again, and have an awesome time before I go to the NFL. Like, that might be a guy who would typically be a 3-year player, and he ends up staying for that 4th year. And then the NFL gets a more developed player on the other end. Like, it could be, I don't know. Like, I don't think it would be a 100% shift. I think there will still be 3-year guys who leave for the NFL after their junior seasons. But maybe you'll see a shift toward older players, more guys coming back because they can get paid to play another year of college.
Yeah, and I mean, when you hear NFL guys talk right now, like, what's the biggest thing? What's their biggest complaint? Is like, these guys aren't ready to play. They're not developed. Like, I think Tom Brady complained about the level of quarterback play, and I mean, to an extent, he's right. I mean, you see these NFL quarterbacks, and like, teams will give up on a guy like right away. They're like, oh, he's not ready to go, and I'm like, I don't know. You're not even developing me either. Like, Bryce Young got benched this year. I mean, obviously he got his job back. Anthony Richardson, same thing. Kenny Pickett. It's like there's so many college football players that are just getting benched, and like the NFL's complaint is like, well, they're not developed enough. They only know how to play college football, and like I don't know if that extra year of college helps them or it helps the NFL, but like you think it might, and I don't know. I mean, you look at that from a basketball point of view. It's like not everyone can play in the NBA, but there's still a lot of really good college players. Like I don't like North Carolina comes to mind. Like RJ Davis, probably never going to play in the NBA, but like, why not? Like, if North Carolina is going to offer you like $1 million to be their point guard again, you're going to take it. Like, why not? Like, you're like, yeah, you're eventually going to start your professional career in Europe or whatever and make money that way. But like, you still get the spotlight of play for UNC. So, I mean, I could see guys just, all right, I'll play 4 years, whatever.
Yeah, maybe it ends up improving the college game, which would be a funny. It'd be funny, like if in a roundabout way, after like NIL is killing college sports, if it ends up actually sort of improving the college game because it gets more guys to stay and play as they get older. Adam Vinchik wants to know, when do you think Pitt will get its first transfer portal commitment? You got a guess? I have no idea.
I don't know. I think we know they have hosted 5 people so far that we know of.
Yeah.
There could have been mystery visitors and things like that, and that's like I think I posted this on the board earlier, like today or maybe yesterday. I was like, that's the thing that makes this hard. It's like not everyone is like, oh, like I got an offer from Pitt. Here is me telling you that. It's like sometimes guys just show up and like they're on a visit and they're like committed the next day, and you're like, where did he come from? But I think that's common. I don't know if like when I look at the transfer portal and I look at how like things are, like it seems like the guys from smaller schools get real excited about the recruitment because they didn't get to experience this in high school. But like if you're like a transfer from like Florida, it's like, like I'm just going to go find a place to play football. But like if you're coming from Western Carolina, yeah, you're going to milk out the recruitment a little bit.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I think we see like Power 4 to Power 4 guys, like guys going from Power 4 school to Power 4 school popping pretty quick. That's probably a good that's a good point. Whereas, yeah, if you were, the defensive end from Mercer who visited Pitt today, you probably didn't get wined and dined by, big colleges and all this stuff. So yeah, go make the most of it. Nico P says, it seems like the retention efforts have been amazing based on current portal prospects. Has it met your expectations pre-portal on types of targets? Let's see. There's 2 things in there. One, on the matter of retention, I'll say this, Jim, and Nico didn't ask about it, just sort of stated that retention efforts have been amazing. Didn't ask a question about retention efforts, but I'll speak on retention efforts because I thought Pitt would lose a handful of starters. I thought Pitt would lose a handful of guys that they wanted to hold on to, and that hasn't happened. It's 12 guys who have gone into the portal. None of them were starters. maybe 4 or 5 of them so far were, top reserves, guys that you'd like to have back because they would be nice depth pieces to have. And they've been able to hold on to pretty much everybody that if you told me to make a list of the 10 guys Pitt needed to keep this offseason, they've more or less done it. Even guys who haven't announced yet, we're pretty confident that they are keeping. It seems like they've done a great job. And I think there's a lot that goes into that, the relationships and being able to come up with, competitive NIL packages, maybe not always the number one NIL package, but competitive numbers. It's been remarkable. So on that front, I agree. The retention efforts have been amazing. In terms of the current portal prospects, has it met my expectations on types of targets? Yeah, it's offensive lineman has been the number one priority, followed by receivers, a defensive end, and then, potentially a backup quarterback. I think position-wise, they've more or less gone for what I expected them to go for. We'll see what they actually end up landing, but I haven't been too surprised that they're going after that. It's not like they went out and they're trying to get linebackers, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or something like that.
No, I'd agree with that. I mean, I think it's been mostly offensive linemen they're tied to. I think just in general, they're casting a lot of lines with the receivers. I think they hosted at least one defensive end. I think the kid from Florida is going to visit in a couple days, maybe tomorrow. So
tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's exactly what you would expect them to look for. And I think they're trying to address the needs that they need. We'll see what they land. I mean, that's the thing with the transfer portal. It's you post oh, Pitt offered this guy. And they're like, what? A guy from the Southern Conference? Who would go after him? Then he proceeds to land 25 portal offers from Power 5 schools. And that's what the transfer portal is. It's guys from small schools that are looking to, make a jump and, be that next Desmond Reed. So, I mean, nothing surprises me about the position and the types of guys they're going after either.
Voodoo IPA, we were talking about the lighting here in the new studio setup. Voodoo IPA said maybe Pitt Santa will get me a nice light up Pitt sign from Royers. Royers is our local hardware store here, Jim. They sell a lot of different things. The problem with a nice light up Pitt sign is I put that behind me and it's backlighting, right? You know how all these teenagers have those ring lights, those glowing, it's a big circle. That's ultimately what I would need to light this properly, but that would have to go on the other side of my computer so it's facing me. If I put a light behind me, I don't know if I could recreate it with my flashlight, but nope.
It would be a little.
That's not good, right? I mean, that's not good. And if it's a bright enough light, it's going to, cast a lot of shadows and stuff. So no, we're not going to be able to do that. We'll find out. I have a couple solutions in mind. I got a few things I got to fix up around the place. But anywho, Green says, I changed my name hundreds of times, but I remember your first ever live show. Crazy how time flies. I wonder what Green's other names were. Green, you should share your other names. I'm curious about it. I don't remember my first ever live show, but I'm glad that you do. I don't know when we did it. It's probably a long time ago. 4 or 5 years. I forget. Wolf HD says, for Pitt football to thrive, do you think Pitt should target overlooked FCS players like Desmond Reed and Raphael Williams, or young former 4-stars buried on the depth chart like Eli Holstein or Donovan McMillan? I guess my answer would be yes. All of it. I mean, that's what you need to go for. You see some of these big name guys that are transferring power 4 to power 4. You're probably not going to get those guys. But you can get a Donovan McMillan, you can get an MJ Devonshire, you can get an Eli Holstein, and then you can get a Desmond Reed and a Stefano Millen and a Raphael Williams. And I think that's where they're generally shopping right now. And that's not the worst place to go. You can have a lot of success with that, right?
I think so. And I mean, I think those are probably the two main profiles of guys in the portal that you're looking for. I mean, I guess there are other cases where some schools can just go out and get other team starters, but guys that have sort of started games that just kind of needed a better fit. I'm thinking the Lyndon Coopers, the Marcus Miners of the world, guys that were starters at a Power 4 team, but are just kind of looking for maybe just to change the scenery for a year. So I think those are kind of the three predominant profiles Pitt's going to look for in the portal, and probably most schools too, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there's a Power 4 guy going into the portal looking for a big payday, that's probably not going to be who Pitt's after. But, I was even just thinking, like, as you were listing names, I was thinking like Jake Overman, Nate Matlack, like these kinds of guys. I mean, Key Thompson, I mean, coming from Ohio, was there another? Oh, Nick James, right? Did you say Nick James? I mean, like another guy who seeing some playing time, but wants a new opportunity, better opportunity, and ends up getting it. So Tamon Lynham, I mean, like this is the kind of guy, like, you're either going lower level starter, successful player at a lower level, either FCS or group of 5, or do we call it group of 6 now? By the way, I was thinking about this the other day. Do we call it G6 or are we still G5?
What are the 6 conferences right now? What?
MAC, AAC, Sun Belt,
Mountain West,
the Mountain West,
Conference USA,
and Conference USA will be the. Do we say AAC? Yeah. So that would be like that was like the group of 5, but are we now including like Oregon State and Washington State?
I don't know.
As like,
yeah,
because like I mean, if Pitt got a transfer from, Oregon State this year, we wouldn't call that a P4 to P4 transfer, right? Because Oregon State's not in a Power 4 conference. So I don't think we get. But like, if we were to say Pitt's getting a player from the group of 5 conferences, well, that would seem to preclude, or leave out Oregon State and Washington State too, right? Because they're not in one of those 5 conferences either. So I don't know what we say there.
I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what Oregon State is. It's the 2-pack.
Yes. So anyway, getting somebody, like those kind of guys. I think that's where Pitt needs to shop, and it's where they are shopping. Pitt Duff Kai says the biggest story of the year, no question, is John Pelusi versus the Pitt trustees. The lawsuit filed December 2nd. What's the cost to Pitt of the house fallout? Who pays, and is it worth it? There's a lot of stuff you just said in there. I don't have a lot to say about John Pelusi, former Pitt player, successful local businessman, Pitt trustee for a long time. He's had his hands in a lot of things at Pitt over the years. I think he's committed to Pitt, bleeds Pitt, and all those things. And it's unfortunate to see a situation kind of get ugly like that. As far as the cost to Pitt of the house fallout, I mean, it's $20.5 million, right? I mean, that's the revenue share. That's the number that I keep seeing. So who pays, and is it worth it? Who pays? I don't know. Is it worth it? Yes, if you intend to be competitive in college sports. All right, Jim, biggest story of the year for Pitt athletics. I mean, this is obvious and easy, right? Should we just move on to number 2, or do we have to spell it out on number 1?
I mean, number 1 is we're still waiting to see if it's completed to the end, but right? What's number 1? Amzal Belich's commitment, right?
Yes, yeah. Actually, you're right. I mean, well, that was like, aside from that, I didn't think I needed to add the caveat. Okay. Aside from Amzal Belic, coming to Pitt. I mean, duh. Obviously, Jim. After that, what's the number 1 story of the year?
I guess women's volleyball going almost coast to coast, number 1. We're still waiting to see if they go number 1.
Not firing the athletic director,
I guess.
Changing the AD. I mean, I think that's obvious. Like, I mean, that's a major thing. She was here for 7 years, and oversaw some major projects. I mean, it seems to be like, in terms of a story, not necessarily a sports accomplishment, but a Pitt athletics story. I don't think there's a bigger story than that. It's a major shakeup. I mean, when they, how I know that was a big deal? Because when they had a press conference to introduce the new athletic director, the chancellor was there and the chairman of the board of trustees, right? Like, I went to 2 Pitt volleyball press conferences in the last couple of weeks and watched a Zoom of a Pitt volleyball press conference today, and the chancellor was not on those, and the chairman of the board of trustees. I mean, like, this is a major Pitt athletic, the biggest Pitt athletic story of the year. I would say is changing the athletic director. It's not that obvious. Like, that doesn't, like, as far as a non-Delilich storyline, like, it's not that obvious.
I mean, I guess it is. You know what? Like, it was so weird when it happened because it happened like in football season. So it was like, I looked at it, I was like, all right, new AD, kind of forgot about it. Oh, they hired a new AD. Okay. But like, I was like in the middle of like football coverage. It's like, I'm driving to Cincinnati and doing things like that. So like, that wasn't like, I don't know why it didn't like jump out to me like that. But yeah, I mean, I guess changing at the top's a big one.
I think so. I think so. All right. In terms,
We'll give you that one.
beyond that, women's volleyball, is that what you're taking?
I
Women's
mean, it's a
volleyball.
chance to win the school's first team national championship since 1976. I think that would be pretty relevant for Pitt athletics. Yeah.
It's big. So is it contingent on them winning the national championship, or is it already? I mean, it's already one of the biggest sports stories of the year, right?
I think they need to win it because like they've been to this exact point before. So like if they lose tomorrow, everyone's just like, oh, they were great again. Everyone, that was cool. Like 31-2, another great season. They still haven't won at all. So like I still think like they need to go through and actually one of these years finally win it. And like I kind of remember because I wasn't at the Penn State match, but I watched the press conference. And I don't know who was asking the questions, but like someone asked like Dan Fisher's like, do you kind of feel like the Buffalo Bills right now? I was like, oh, that's a spicy question for like a game in September.
It's like also like a 30-year reference too. I mean, it's not exactly something it didn't happen recently. I mean, the Buffalo Bills and their nonsense. I mean, like that was like the early 1990s. I mean, who like somebody old must ask that question. It couldn't have been Dom or somebody. Jeez, was it Starkey? Joe Starkey's a big Buffalo guy. I mean, maybe
maybe he was. I mean, but right. Like I just remember that press conference from like the Penn State match in September. It's like he's already feeling the pressure. Like, dude, you got to win a championship. This harsh Pittsburgh media is coming.
Yep. It is. They're bringing the pressure. All right. So, what if they don't win tomorrow night? What's a bigger sports story in 2024? A bigger Pitt sports story? The run to another Final Four, a fourth consecutive Final Four, or the 7-0 start and everything that kind of went along with that for Pitt football?
I mean, like, no matter what the football team does, it's like it's gonna have greater interest for just. I mean, we both know like what gets traffic and what we talk about on our website. So like whatever the football team does is always going to be the biggest story around Pitt. So I mean, yeah, like starting 7-0, best start since 1982. Looked like it was going to be the dream season. Like Indiana's playing in the playoffs tomorrow. There was a time when Pitt fans were dreaming that same dream. Like they were like, oh yeah, like this is going to be us, and like. It like to have the Band-Aid ripped off like the way it did. I mean, like that stinks, but yeah, I mean the football team was full of storylines this year. Start was great, the ending was terrible. They had a lot of really good individual performances along the way, a lot of weird different things that happened during some of these games, some bad calls, weird bounces. So yeah, I mean, like football season's always going to be like the number one thing we're going to talk about. So yeah, 7-0 to 7-5 was probably the story.
Yeah, that actually you're probably right. It wasn't just the 7-0 start. It was the fact that they went from 7-0 to 7-5. What was the best game of the year? Was it the win at Duke basketball win?
I would say so. Just like that I was there. I mean, like you could just like it was like such a big moment for them, and you could just like I was like here to you like. That like to Blake Hinson, you could just tell he was like on one the whole game. Like he was talking crap to the Cameron Crazies and ended it with like standing on the table. I mean, it was a great win. It was funny because whenever you were down there, like everyone's like, "Oh wow, this is Pitt's first win at Cameron Indoor Stadium since 1979." It was like they've only played there like 5 years since then, but like yeah, that's cool too. So yeah, that was probably like the best, probably most fun win a Pitt team had this season. It was just beating Duke and Cameron.
Yeah. I mean, I get what even would be like second, like the West Virginia win, I guess.
Overall, yeah,
winning in the West Virginia game.
Yeah, the comeback there was pretty good. Trying to like, did the basketball team have another like really crazy win last year or no? Not really.
Nothing as big as Duke. I mean,
nothing as big as Duke. Like, yeah, like coming back from 10 down in the backyard brawl to beat West Virginia, like with a freshman quarterback again, whenever Pitt fans were dreaming the dream. Everything was riding high at that point.
Yeah, I'm looking. They lost to Carolina at home in January. They won at Louisville. They lost to Duke at home. Blown out at home. They lost to Syracuse at home. I was just looking through the basketball games. Then the Duke game on January 20th. They won at Georgia Tech. They lost to Miami. That Wake Forest game was a good game, a fun game, an exciting game at home. That win. Beat Notre Dame at home, won at NC State. Was that like one of the first times they won at NC State in anything forever?
I think the first year Pitt joined the ACC, they beat NC State, right, and that was the second time.
That's it. And then they followed that up by winning at Virginia, beating Louisville at home, getting destroyed at Wake Forest, beating Virginia Tech, losing at Clemson. That Clemson game was a bad one. Winning at Boston College, Florida State, NC State. They won those two. ACC tournament win, and then the ACC tournament loss. So, nothing's going to be as big as that Duke game. Nothing's really going to rival that. Was Blake Hinson on the scorer's table most iconic moment of Pitt football or Pitt sports in 2024?
Yeah, that has to be, just because it was like an image you can picture in your head. It's like, oh, like that was awesome. But I'm trying to think, like, I think the volleyball team, like, setting the attendance record for, I think it was the Penn State match. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, that's showing growth of the game and just showing the power that team has kind of built up over the years. I mean, like, the football, like the Syracuse game was just hilarious. Like, it's like, holy crap, he threw another pick six. There's another Pitt linebacker running in for a touchdown. So, like, that was also, like, just kind of a fun game because, again, it was in the midst of the 7-0 start. Everyone was riding high, and the shark movement was real at that time. So yeah, that was, like, the height of it. Like, the Jaws music was playing every time they walked onto the field, and Kyle McCord kept throwing to Pitt linebackers. So, yeah, that was I don't know. I'd say, yeah, like, Blake Hinson jumping on the scores table, volleyball setting an attendance record, and like Kyle Lewis just running down the field doing this. Like, those are the three for me.
It is funny to think that, like, how much the wave kind of crashed. And like, there's some, like, iconic, what's an iconic image, honestly, from the 2024 from 2024, specifically related to Pitt football. An iconic image is that damn SMU kicker clowning Pitt sideline. I'm serious, because like that was, like, it was at a fevered pitch at that point, right after the Syracuse game. Like you said, they had the big feature before the game started. It was such a big deal. And like SMU, like, yeah, they were a bunch of cocky jerks, but like, they were like, you guys are stupid with your stupid shark thing, and we're kicking your butt right now. And I'm going to do, like, you got clowned by a kicker. Dang. And that just kind of, like, set the tone. That was the tone. What set the tone was Rashad Battle not tackling that guy on, like, the first play of the game or whatever it was, or first third down or something. But, like, that was really kind of, like, the wave crashed. For me, the wave crashed when that SMU kicker did that. And I was like, oh, that's where we're at now. Like, that's the kind of thing that's happening. And I still didn't think they were going to lose 5 in a row. But yeah, that whole team was cocky. Their fans were all, like, cocky. Like, there was so much unlikable about that SMU game. You know what I mean? Like, between the team and the fans, it was so much unlikable. But like, they earned every right to be as unlikable as they wanted to be, because they kicked Pitt's butt all over the field, and now they're in the playoffs and everything like that. So, like, yeah, you guys got to do it. But Brock 01 points out real quick that Pitt did win at NC State 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Which I looked up. I'd forgotten, because it was that weird, like, orphan game in, like, the middle of the non-conference schedule. They had the Vanderbilt game, and then they went down there and played NC State, and they won. And then they came back and played, like, St. Francis or some nonsense. Like, I hate those games. You know why I hate it the most, Jim? I hate having to refer to that one little one-off conference game. And I hate not being able to say, like, well, once they get into ACC play or their ACC opener or something like that, it's like, well, they already started ACC play in, like, the first week of December. I hate that. It's so annoying Stop doing it. I didn't like it when they played it in the first game of the season. I think Jeff Capel hated that, even though they won the game. Like, I hated that. I hate when you do it in like the first week of December. Like, just stop. It's so annoying. Will Z says Pitt Louisville going 5 sets was a great game too. That was a pretty epic one. At the Peterson Events Center, places going nuts. You know, they go to, I think it was at the Pete, right? That wasn't at the field house, was it?
No, that was at the Pete.
Yeah, at the Pete. Like, it was wild. It was exciting. Yeah, that was a pretty great one. What, like, for the drama, do you want 5 sets tomorrow night, or you just, you know, get another sweep, get it over with, get ready for Sunday?
No, I wouldn't mind 5 sets. Like, I want to see like 2 good teams battle it out, and like I've been trying to like think of like how I can equate the Pitt Louisville rivalry, because they're not natural school rivalries. It's not like Pitt and Louisville hate each other. They've been conference mates for a while, and it's like it almost reminds me of like the old Pitt UConn basketball rivalries, where it was just like a rivalry out of necessity. It's like, we're the 2 best teams. When we play, it's a big deal. And I think that's kind of what Pitt Louisville volleyball has kind of turned into.
That's good. That's good. And like, I think there probably is like a healthy amount of dislike there. You know what I mean? There's gotta be. There has to be, because they've split. They've won big games and big moments. Like I said, you know, Louisville knocked Pitt out of the Final Four 2 years ago. Pitt knocked Louisville out of the postseason last year. They're meeting again in the Final Four. I mean, so they've played big games. They have been the best teams in the country. I mean, that's the other, like, when you first said that, I was thinking like, maybe like Pitt, Virginia Tech in football, but like, they were never like number 1 seeds facing off. You know what I mean? They were never like both in the top 5 meeting each other. They beat each other when they were ranked high. Pitt beat Virginia Tech when they were ranked in the top 5, but like, it not like these 2 teams are, but Pitt UConn in the heyday, you know, 04, 05, 06, 03. I mean, like, yeah, I think that's a great comparison, because they were 2 of the best teams in the country, 2 of the best teams in their conference, meeting each other on a regular basis, playing each other, you know, a couple times in the regular season, then again in the Big East tournament. The only thing it's missing is like a Pitt UConn Final Four match, or matchup. So that's a good comparison. I like that. And I think there is dislike, and there's dislike like among the fan bases. You know what I mean? Like, Pitt fans hate Louisville volleyball right now. You see some really, really funny memes, just like they hated UConn. And I think UConn fans came to hate Pitt and I think Louisville fans hate Pitt because it's such a rivalry, and they split. You know what I mean? Like, both teams win quite a bit in the series, and it makes it a lot of fun. Josh Newark predicts that the first portal commit will be the Western Carolina quarterback. Yeah, Cole Gonzalez, visiting today, tweeted out that he got an offer from Pitt today. What do you make of this? Cole Gonzalez, just to set the table for anybody who doesn't know, he's the quarterback from Western Carolina, went into the portal this year. He was Cade Bell's quarterback the last 2 years that Bell was at Western Carolina. Played this past year without Bell, played only like 8 games or something, got hurt. He's in the portal, visits Pitt today, tweets out that he got an offer. What do you make of this whole situation?
I think from Pitt's point of view, you couldn't dream up a better backup quarterback situation to find in the portal. You have a guy that knows the offense, you have a guy that knows the coaches, and seemingly a guy that's willing to be a backup. I mean, like, that is exactly what Pitt wants. So it almost seems too good to be true. It's like, all right, so what does Cole Gonzalez get out of all this? Like, why doesn't he want a starting job and all that? So I don't know. I don't know if he's drawing that kind of interest. You would think some Sun Belt team or Conference USA team would be interested in him. But yeah, like, from Pitt's point of view, it's like a win-win situation. I mean, that is exactly what you wanted when you look for a backup quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, yeah, you couldn't. I mean, like, Nate Yarnell would have been really nice to keep around, but this might actually even be a better option because he's got 3 years experience playing in this offense, or 2 years playing in the offense directly under Bell. And I think they did a lot of the same things last year. You know, when after Bell left. And so, yeah, it seems like it'd be perfectly ideal. I guess Gonzalez, maybe he just wants to get the degree and have a chance to get on the field if the backup is called upon. I would think he would want to go somewhere that he could be the starter, like you said. But yeah, for Pitt, I think you said it right. You can't draw up a better backup option I don't think they have any intention of breaking the NIL bank for a backup quarterback. I don't think they had any intention of being aggressive for it. So it's really going to be a matter of, does Cole Gonzalez want to go to Pitt and play for Cade Bell for a year and maybe get on the field if Eli Holstein gets hurt? Because that's the only way. Eli Holstein is the starting quarterback. Gonzalez would be the backup. So that's really interesting. I guess he could be the first commit. I wouldn't be surprised. I think it was announced that he was going to also visit Charlotte, right? But we've seen plenty of guys announce that they're taking multiple visits and they commit on the first visit. So who knows? I guess I should turn on notifications for Cole Gonzalez because I don't have those.
'Tis the season.
Yep. Have you added a lot of notifications on transfer guys?
Yeah, but then I still have all the current Pitt players, and when I see it, I'm like, oh, then it's no, just Pete, Kyle Lewis, hey, I'm an All-American. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yep. Let's see. Paul Sebastian says, does Pitt hire a GM like Stanford did with Andrew Luck? Who do you think would be a good fit for the job? Yeah, I think they'll probably hire someone. I think they'll probably have someone in that job. I think, Doug Whaley, I think, could potentially be an option for that. I imagine he might want to get back into the NFL game at some point. So I don't know how committed to college he would want to be, but he would seem, and I think he's been involved with Alliance 412 in some way. So he would be an option. It's always continually evolving, and I don't know how much Pat Narduzzi wants to give up in terms of his control and duties and responsibilities. I don't think he wants to get involved on the money side with the NIL or the revenue sharing and things like that. But in terms of player acquisition and evaluation, I think he wants to have a lot of say over that, and I think he wants his coaches to as well. So, it would depend on the arrangements, of how it's set up. Before I would say, yeah, they'll definitely hire someone. What do you think?
I agree. I feel like they like to keep a lot of their scouting and recruiting in-house, and they have dedicated interns and people that, watch the portal all the time, bring their suggestions to the coaches. They have their system, and I think that's the one thing, like you said, I don't know how much Narduzzi's willing to give that up entirely. It has to be someone he would trust to be a GM, but he would still also have the ability to, at the end of the day, it's yes, no, yes, we want him, no, we don't. It still has to be, I think, in his perfect world, somewhat traditional recruiting in a sense. I still think he wants that feel.
Yeah, I agree. Just looking to see if there was anything else. Just because Josh Newark mentioned about Deuce Spann, the Florida State wide receiver. He says, just seeing that the Florida State wide receiver committed to Pitt. I don't know if he necessarily did. Sources are telling College Transfer Portal, a Twitter account dedicated to helping transfer portal players reach their end zone. It's always good to help those players, man. I think you're probably doing a great job there. College Transfer Portal says, sources tell me Florida State wide receiver Deuce Spann will transfer to Pitt. That tweet came out yesterday. I don't think Spann has visited. I would think that if something's going to happen, it'll happen after he visits, but we'll see what happens there. So I don't think there's any commitments in yet, but it can always happen fast, and things can always change from the moment we hit the end the stream button. So maybe I should just hit that button and we can, move on and let the news start breaking out. But all right, that's it for 2024 here on the live Panther-Lair Show. Can't believe it. Time has flown by. I guess our next live show, the post-game show after the bowl game next Thursday. And then our next live show, maybe we'll go live on January 2nd, Jim. Maybe that Thursday night. Maybe we'll do a live stream just to get back with the people.
There's basketball games right off the bat in January, so we have to kind of check on that schedule too.
Well, the Cal game is on the 1st at 2:00.
Okay.
They play Cal, yeah. So there's nothing on Thursday night, January 2nd. So
let's do it.
We won't have that. I might, yeah. But so we'll tentatively plan on that. I'll keep everybody posted on it. But either way, thanks everybody for chiming in tonight and getting in the comments and questions. It's a lot of fun as always. Jim, thank you for your time. Everybody out there, make sure you like and subscribe. And else do I want to tell you? Oh, check out the website, Panther-Lair.com, Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. I assume most people who watch this live stream and listen to the podcast also check out the Morning Pit, but if you don't, then you won't hear any holiday greetings from me next week. So I'll say them now. Enjoy your holiday season. Have a great new year. We will talk to you for another live Panther-Lair show maybe on January 2nd, but I'm not sure. We'll figure that out over the next 2 weeks. In the meantime, have a good one. Thanks for tuning in tonight, and we will catch up with you tomorrow for the Morning Pit right here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com.